accruals of expenses. These are the costs that have been incurred by the business but are not yet paid. So bot pasabot na pasatwa ang kwarta, no? So when the business extends the payment of accruals, the funds intended for payment are temporarily used by the business. So accruals of expenses become a source of the fund. That amount will be within the full disposition and control of the company. While waiting for the due date, you can still use it for other operating activities. So muna siyang accruals of expenses can be a good source of short-term funds. Next is the supplier's trade credit. This is a business-to-business agreement in which a customer can purchase goods without paying cash upfront and paying the supplier at the later scheduled date. So muna ni siya ang mga N30, 210, 215, ana. So the amounts that are intended for paying the merchandise, nakuha na ni mga merchandise, pero the amount napa sa imuha, because at the end of the month pa ang payment, will be used to finance other operating expenses. So this instance provides source of funds since the buyers are not required to make immediate payment on the date of purchase. Diba? So nakuha nimo ang goods na nakay mabaligya, but then naapa sa imo ang kwarta kay at the end pa ang bayad. So you can still use that money for your working capital or short-term funds. Next is the bank loans, the primary source of funds to support the business operation, normally provided at a cost. Muna ni siya ayahang interest. So the bank charges interest and other financing costs like the origination fee. So matingala ta usahay no nga dili gyud net ang ato ang magdawat because of the origination fee. So for example, if a borrower agrees a 10,000 loan with 3% origination fee, he would only receive an actual cash of 9,700 kay maynusan na siya sa 3% nga origination fee. Okay? So we might be wondering also what is the basis of percentage imposed by the bank sa kanang origination fee. So usually, in a mortgage loan, the bank charges a 1% origination fee from the total amount. And if it is a personal loan, the percentage of the origination fee depends on the loan amount, the risk, and the amount of work. So usually, it's 3% to 5%. Now let's go to the commercial papers, another source of short-term financing. These are essentially promissory notes issued by authorized large companies. So only large companies are allowed by the SEC or the Securities and Exchange Commission to borrow funds by issuing commercial papers. So this sourcing of short-term funds using this commercial paper is para ra gid sa katong mga bigatin ng mga company. Okay? It is unsecured, meaning it is granted without specific use of a collateral. So only accredited high credit rating companies are allowed to issue subject to the approval of the SEC. Okay? So this is really just simply a promissory note with a short-term maturity date. Okay? Now, we go to the last source of short-term financing. This is the pledging and factoring of receivables. So when we say pledging, the receivables are used as collateral. Dihimulan mo siyang collateral. Now, when we say factoring, it involves the sale of your receivables to the financing company. So as we all know, that receivables is a result of our sales, credit sales made by the business. So it is a good source of short-term funds. No? So in pledging, so for example, if a company has a total receivable of 500,000, and then they are in need of funds, they can borrow from a financing company and make their receivables, which is 500,000, as their collateral. So that is pledging. Okay? Now, in factoring, the receivable is transferred from the factoring company to the financing company. So, because it involves sale of receivable, it is now the financing company that will do the collection. Because factoring of the receivables involves the sale of the receivables. Imuhang mga account receivables, imo nang gibaligya dito sa factoring or the financing company.